Hello again everyone, Jessica with From Dream to Seed, and today I have a super short video about winter sowing, what it is, how to do it, and why it might be a great method for you to try in your garden this year. So this is a method of starting seeds called winter sowing, and I feel like it's become really popular in the last couple of years in the gardening world, and for good reason, because it's kind of an easier approach to starting seeds versus starting them on indoor grow lights. And what it is we are sowing seeds usually in containers, and then we're putting them outside in those cold winter months. And when the soil and the ambient temperature reaches the optimal temperature for those particular seeds to germinate, those seeds will grow inside the containers. And by doing this, we're exposing them to colder temperatures outside, we're exposing them to a little bit of wind that they would get in these containers, and mostly we're exposing them to the sun and the UV rays. And so usually those seedlings will grow to be a lot stronger and hardier than the seedlings that are grown indoors, where the wind and the UV rays and those things like that aren't being exposed to those seedlings. So this is a great way if you don't have indoor grow lights, or if you don't have space, or if you just kind of want to plant and leave them for a while. This is a great method for you to try out. So if you've ever planted something like tomatoes, and maybe you had a few tomatoes that fell to the ground, maybe they rotted and just kind of, you left in your garden, and then you pull those plants up, and then the next year when the weather gets warm again and you notice that there's little tomatoes starting to grow again in your garden, and this can happen with lots of different flowers and vegetables. That's basically what winter sowing is. Those seeds fall, they stay dormant, and then when the temperature warms up, they will start to grow. Now, traditionally, I feel like the winter seed sowing is done with cool weather crops because they'll germinate a lot sooner inside these containers than they would if you just planted them into the ground. You can also do winter sowing for warm season flowers and vegetables. It just will take a lot longer for the soil to reach those temperatures. But traditionally, I feel like it is done with cooler season vegetables and flowers. So today I am winter sowing with several flowers. And all of these flowers and herbs, I do have lavender, are perennial flowers, which means that they're going to come back year after year. I think one is biennial, which means it'll have 2 years until it completes its process to go back to seed. And the reason that winter sowing is great for perennial herbs and perennial flowers is because a lot of times these seeds, they have to go through a cold period in order for them to germinate well. And so this is a process called cold stratification. So a lot of times you will see on seed packets where they will have you plant perennial seeds in the fall, and that's so they go through that cold winter period, and that kind of helps break down these really tough seed coatings that they have and allows them to germinate better. So by putting perennial seeds into these containers and then putting them outside, it's now mid-February, I'm going to allow those seeds to sit in the cold for several weeks before the temperatures start to warm up, and this will hopefully ensure better germination. So the process of winter sowing is fairly easy. You just get really any container. Milk jugs are great because they're lighter in color, and so they'll let more sunlight through. And funny story, my family does not really drink milk. We are not milk drinkers. Some of us can't, and some of us just don't like milk. So I have to ask friends and neighbors for milk jugs. But what you want to do is you want to start by punching maybe 4 to 5 small holes in the bottom of the milk container. And then you want to cut. I just used a box cutter, and I totally would have done this on camera, but I was seriously worried I was going to maim my fingers and film it. And so I decided to wait and do that before. You want to cut all the way around, about halfway down the milk container or whatever container you have, and you want to leave just like a little bit of a hinge. It's about a 1-inch hinge. And you can go ahead and throw away the cap because you won't need it, because having this opening on top will allow rain, snow, or whatever moisture in the air to get in, which is what you want. Now, hopefully this goes without being said, but you want to make sure that you sterilize these containers before you use them. So I always rinse out the milk jug several times with really hot water, and then I will add just a few drops of bleach and kind of swirl it around, and then let those air dry for several days before I use these. And so from there, you're going to want to take, I prefer seed starting mix versus potting soil. Now, normally I make my own seed starting mix, but it's quite a messy process and it's too cold for me to do it outside. So I went ahead and bought some seed starting mix to do this with. And seed starting mix is different from potting mix in that it will not hold on to moisture as much, because you don't want to drown out those seeds and kind of have the roots of those seedlings be too wet so they rot. So I have a seed starting mix here, which I have pre-moistened. I always pre-moisten any potting or seed starting mix that I do. I find that having soil or seed starting mix that's already moistened and then to put in a container and then put your seeds in is easier than putting dry mix in, putting the seeds in, and then watering the soil. A lot of times in watering over top like that, you displace the seeds. You can push them down deeper than they need to go for germination. So start with, this is anytime I start any seeds, start with pre-moistened soil. And then what I will do is after the seeds are planted, I will just take a small bottle and spray the top of the soil. So you want to just follow the planting instructions on the back of your packet. It will tell you how deep to plant these seeds. If for some reason it doesn't, or maybe you've received seeds from somewhere else that weren't labeled, you want to just usually plant 2 to 3 times the width of the seed. Now some seeds are a little bit bigger, so they'll have to go deeper. For instance, like sweet peas or beans, those are big seeds, so you would plant those about 1 inch down. Whereas, you know, these delphinium seeds, I'd say they're a medium to small size seeds. I'm only going to plant these maybe 1/4 to 1/2, not even 1/2, probably 1/4 of an inch down. In fact, if you have really teeny tiny seeds, I think it's better just to kind of sprinkle them on the surface and then take some dirt and kind of sprinkle over top rather than trying to get the exact measurement right. I just find that's a little bit easier. And then once the seeds are planted, I will again spray them on the top to kind of just moisten that top layer of soil. And then you just want to take clear packing tape and close up that cut you made in the container. And again, leave the top open and make sure you label it. So here I have rose campion that I'm growing, and then it just needs to go outside in a sunny spot. And this container will act almost like a mini greenhouse. Obviously it's not completely closed off, so you will have some heat loss, but it will warm up inside this container faster than it would for soil in the ground, because you have this plastic holding in some of the heat. And that's it. That's all there is to winter sowing. Let me know if you're going to try out this method. I know I'm excited. This is first for me. So I'm going to finish planting up these seeds. I have some rose campion, sweet William, lupine, English lavender, pink hibiscus, and some delphinium that I'm going to be planting in these containers. And I'm actually a little bit late getting them out, so I definitely need to get this done today. But thanks so much for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already. I really appreciate it. If you have any comments or suggestions for videos, I would really love to hear them. And thanks so much. I'll see you soon. Bye.